Welcome to Beyond the Balance, where we redefine wealth and rebuild futures. Because financial freedom isn't just about numbers, it's about making your money work for you, your future, and your freedom. We're here to talk about wealth, growth, and the stories that prove you don't need a perfect balance to make a perfect comeback. And okay, today I'm thrilled to have Nathan Cabrera with me on the show. Nathan's a proud Baltimore native with an incredible story of overcoming obstacles, from poverty to bankruptcy to building wealth the right way. He's not just a marketing expert or a nonprofit leader. Nathan is truly passionate about financial literacy and helping others take control of their financial narratives. His energy, authenticity, and heart makes him an incredible mentor and coach. Nathan's all about empowering people to grow, succeed, and reach their goals with no excuses. Let's dive into his journey and get some real talk on money and mindset.
Holy
Nathan.
crap, Kyla. You made me sound good. I'm like, that's me? Oh, we're interviewing me today?
Yes, I'm really excited to have you on the show. And I got to learn a little bit about you, but I'm excited to hear from the real deal.
Yes, that's all we like. We like real deals here because I don't know. I feel like people can relate to that more. No one likes anything fake, and I don't think that doesn't describe me. So I'm pretty hyped today
Thank you.
to be
And
on here
I
with
am
you.
as well. I mean, your energy is just amazing. And I'd really love to know personally more about your journey and how do you start out where you were and to, where you got to now?
Yeah. Ooh, that's always a loaded question because I'm like, where do I start? Because I have so many stories, and do you really want to hear all that? Because
I
my fa
do.
my family, my life, my everything is a little bit unorthodox. It's crazy, but I think a lot of people can relate to this. I grew up in the '90s, single mom, four kids, minority family. My family's Puerto Rican, and so
Yeah.
we were like in a very predominantly white community. And so there's all these different variables and things going on. And I'm sure there's some people rolling their eyes like, oh, here we go with the racial stuff. No, 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 that's not where I'm headed down. Though it is important and it's my story, just like I don't take that any way from anyone else in their experiences. And being, a child, I don't think I really was aware of some of these things and culturally, demographically, and just really, just societally and where I was growing up. I thought I grew up in a great community. And please, anybody who's seeing this that's from my community, I still live here, so don't rip my head off. But this community is a little bit rough around the edges in Baltimore. It's the county, which people be like, "Oh, you don't know what the hood's like because you're in the county." But it was different. It's a working class community, so already there's these different things that it's like when you play a video game. Look, I didn't warn you beforehand. I got ADHD, so I'll be jumping in. Hopefully, people.
So do I. So do I actually. Yeah, diagnose ADHD. So yeah, I get it.
So please, if I'm ever going off in a tangent, Kyla, bring it back. But
Okay.
yeah, gosh, what was it like before and how I got here? Well, I think a lot of it is just where you get to is from where you came from. So like I'm just thinking about like board games and things. Like some people start at the go, and I felt like I start at the take three steps back and then go. So and even then I still feel like I was privileged. But essentially, grew up, again, single mom at grandmom's house. And so, they're busting butt to work and meet and make ends meet. And I'm just like, as you get a little bit older, you start to discover more of your surroundings.
Of
And
course.
so I realized that we didn't grow up with a lot of money, and my family was very irresponsible with money. Then there's also the whole caveat of like, I don't know, like growing up, I felt like families were like, hey, we don't talk about private matters. That's a private conversation. I'm like, why are we not talking about money? Because everybody seems to be terrible at it. Like, talk to somebody so we can get better at it. So that's a really loaded answer. But
I mean, but it makes perfect sense. And you know what's funny is that no matter what I talk to anybody about, they kind of come to the same conclusion, which is hilarious. Like,
hmm
the very first podcast episode I did with somebody, we talked about self care. And we
Mm,
stumbled upon the same exact thing, talking about how different communities face different things and, what they see through the media and how they kind of receive the idea of money or how they respond to it or how they spend it. And I feel like that's something we should talk about more, especially within different communities, because I feel like we could get a lot of answers that we're not really, kind of looking at. And so
100%.
I would love somebody to do like a whole documentary article situation, talking about different diasporas as including, white Americans or, anything like that, just kind of meeting us all in the middle so that we can understand, what are we missing or what are we not missing. So
Sure.
yeah, you make total sense, like 100% total sense. And
Yeah.
so I would like to know, this is my first question for you. Could
Okay.
you really take us back to that first moment of what like life looked like before you were financially literate? And then, what changed when you became financially literate?
Mm, yeah. Before I was financially literate, I was broke like everybody else now. No. I mean, it was just like economies of scale, all that. No. Before I became like really financially, savvy, if you will. Hopefully you don't hear my dog in the background barking. If you do, I'm so
I
sorry. Oh
don't.
my Lord. I'm like, but she's probably like, oh, he's lying, he's lying. No, before I was financially literate, you just kind of like it's guesswork. You think that there's no manual because you grew up not having people that were showing you the ways of money, being
Right.
financially responsible. You just knew that it was so stressful every month in the beginning of the month. Why? Because rent is due, the bills are due, and everybody's
Mhm.
freaking out and everybody's getting cussed out at, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like what's going on? And honestly, like there were times where we didn't have electricity. Like we would be running a cord to the neighbor's house and like, hey, can we borrow some electric? Like what? Like, and that was like normal. And as we know, that's not quite normal. But it was those experiences that I felt like. I mean, I told my elementary, middle school teachers, I want to be a landlord when I grow up. I don't encourage that for anybody, but
No,
what I was really saying is like I wanted to get into real estate and property and just like being financially secure because all I remember is that landlord was coming to collect the rent every month and he was walking away kind of happy when you know mom finally paid the rent whether it was late or not. But and then really like in high school, I got really engaged with taking business classes. um oh Lord, do you hear that now? You hear
I
that cat?
don't.
Oh, good, good, good.
Yeah.
See, that's gonna be a distraction if in my head. See, there's that ADHD. But essentially, look, I was selling candy bars, in
Okay.
third grade, maybe second
Industrial.
grade. Like, I was like, you know what? I see the value of money. I'm selling Pokemon cards to the kids on the in the playground, and then on top of that, I'm selling candy bars. This is back when you were allowed to do that in the neighborhood. I was walking probably barefoot, and my mom was like, "Where are your shoes?" And I'm going to the neighbor's house and I'm taking their orders if I don't have the candy bar of choice that they want. And I'm gonna be real here. I used my mom's food stamps. We went to Rite Aid. This was back when candy bars were like 3 for $1. And I would sell them for $1 a piece. I mean, it's like, step one right there. I was the original Uber, okay? I was the original
Yeah,
Uber Eats and, Grubhub, taking Miss Suzette's order of Heath bars or, chocolate Hershey's and whatnot. So those experiences really made me understand the value of money, and I really encourage, like, you hear those stories with the kids with the lemonade stand, like, encourage
yeah.
if the kids are wanting to explore that area, it helps us to understand the value of money. And then
Mhm.
on top of that, again, we know that the education system is screwed up when it comes to financial literacy, but I
Yes.
really gravitated, and that was because of my interest in it in high school, because we had like a little like econ class, like very basic level, and I felt like I kind of came prepared, just kind of understanding again economies of scale and just finances a little bit, just from that little bit of exchange of dollars. And Google was a thing back then, believe it or not, when I was in high school. But
Uh,
yeah, I mean, it was that education. It was kind of like the before was like, okay, I'm broke. I'm understanding like, hey, you got to make money to like live, like that part. But when the financial literacy is like, where, how can you be that empowered stage? So like after understanding money, like I'm like, what do I do with this? Because my experience is not just to make money, slave over work 40 hours a week. And some people used to be proud for working 60 hours a week and 80 hours a week. That is not my thing. Like,
No.
so how do we make it so that we can live comfortably with what we need in life and what we want in life and still be, savvy. And so that education is power. It's empowering. And then on top of that, I want to leave a legacy for like, my family, that I will be blessed to have in the future. But that starts with me. That journey starts with me. And regardless if my family didn't introduce that to me, it is my job now. I'm an adult. I can say all the excuses in the world. That's what I talk about, excuses. And it's not to discredit people's experiences because we all have them and all of our situations are different. But again, I wasn't a Jeff Bezos or anyone who like had family that was like, here's your, your thousands of dollars to start your business, and bless them for having that. Like I don't take that away from, the powers that be, or who, if you were born into a high class family, that is awesome. But
Yeah, it is.
I've seen it in those instances too, where people that I know that make a lot of money, I've had clients that make, well over six figures that are still broke. Why? Because they're not financially literate. So it starts with the basics. And I love using analogies, Kyla. So I just think about like, in grade school, you learn addition and subtraction first before you start doing algebraic equations. So you need
Exactly.
to go to the basics. It's like money in, money out. That's the addition and subtraction. But then what happens after that, So it's that financial literacy, like really understanding the tools and the value of that knowledge when it comes to finances. And then we can get into, because everybody wants to go into like, oh, I want to be an investor, I want to have property, and all these things. And we think it's like this glorious thing where you just need a pot of money. It's like it's more than that, because if you can't be trusted with the little things, you can't be trusted with the big things. So if you can't
Exactly.
make it on a $5 budget, you ain't gonna make it on $100 or 100,000, because you don't know how to be broke. And I
Exactly.
was professional at being broke.
Yeah, I'm overcoming that stage of, being a professional, being broke. But for, for those in the remaining class, what are the basics? What can you kind of suggest to people who kind of are not seeing the light in their situation,
Mm,
and like you said, there's no excuses for at least learning the basics, right? But for
mhm.
those who are like, I am so down, like near bankruptcy or like at bankruptcy level broke,
Oh
what
yeah.
could you tell to those people who are feeling desperate?
Well, what I will say is it's never too late to make changes, no matter how desperate it is. My problem is when I communicate. You see everything on my face. I'm very expressive. So when I'm working with people, and I'll be like, "Oh, your situation is not that bad. Let me see." And I'm like, "Oh, it's bad." Like I'm looking at them like they're like, "Oh, like Nathan, I told you it was gonna be ugly." But honestly, like it, I'm gonna take it back to the knowledge is power, and a lot of people they make very vague statements. My situation is bad, my situation is poor, or it's not good, or I want to be rich, I want to be well off. What does that mean? Because that means something different to everybody.
Yes.
What is the number? What is, we talk about specifics. Let's stop making generalizations. So my first thing would be like, let's really take that, 30,000 aerial foot view of your situation and audit it. Like how bad is bad? And then before I crap my pants, like let's let's be sure that it's the scenario that we're thinking, if that makes sense. So really, I just encourage people like, hey, take a breath and let's figure out the facts here. We are very emotionally driven as people, and I'm emotional. Like we react. I get anxiety, like especially when it's money. Like you ever open up your app, like whether it's like your Capital One or your bank account, and you're just like, all right, fingers crossed, fingers crossed. I know I went over budget last night, by how much over budget? And a lot of times I'll throw my, we used to like throw the phone before you even open and really realize. And then you're like, okay, like once you feel, it's got to be concrete.
Yeah,
So let's know our situation and let's stop being shy about it. Because one thing is like, you can't do life alone. You can't do this alone. And sometimes it calls us for another player to be involved in it, right? It's like accountability. It's someone
exactly.
else understanding your situation. Because a lot of times, especially when it comes to finances, that's a big problem in marriages. That's a big problem
Yes.
in life. You can't do anything if you don't have money, but it could be a cause for depression and so many other mental health challenges. And then if you're dealing with it alone, you really bottle yourself into a corner that could really be detrimental for you. You
Yeah.
mentioned bankruptcy too. I am not shy to say I declared bankruptcy when I was 21. And at first, I thought my life was going to be over because I was like, how can I be the successful person? I'm in school, I'm trying to go to college, and I want to make something of myself. I want to break generational curses. I want to make something of myself, leave a legacy. And this is what I get. I got to claim bankruptcy. This is so embarrassing. But
Mm.
honey, I bought a house within 3 years after that. Like, it wherever you're starting from, you can make it, whatever it looks like. I might not be a billionaire. I might not be the next billionaire, but what can I be? What's realistic? And set these small goals that are achievable. It's not because you want to think small, but people really make things happen when there's these small wins. There's a lot of financial coaches, gurus. You'll look online at, David Ramsey or Ramit Sethi, recommend both of them, and their skill sets are very similar, but their approaches to money are actually very different. But I encourage people to find out money habits from multiple sources.
Hmm.
But yeah, I just feel like, the situation is not too destitute that you can't make it out. You might not be the next Bezos.
Yeah. And, I love that you say that because I think that is a huge thing, especially in like this age of social media. And, we're always seeing somebody be successful, but, it's okay to start out from zero, and climb your way up. And that's not something that's glorified enough, in my opinion. You know, I will always, I always tell this story. I don't even know if I'm allowed to, but when I first met my husband, he was, like freaking out like financially, and he was like, no, I no, he was like, it's bad, and yeah, it was bad, it was pretty bad, but it like he overcame it like within 2 years.
Mm,
Like his credit score was super low, super low, and with actually facing the numbers, like you said, facing the facts, going over it and finding the confidence to say, I owe this. I did not pay this. I will pay this. I'm going to call them. I'm going to, make negotiations. I'm going to set up a payment plan and stuff like that. That man was able to build his credit score like nothing, over 100 points within
mm,
a year, of
yeah.
him just being, how would you say that? Not only responsible, but holding himself accountable, for the things that we do. I always like to share this story as well, that last year I was making a lot of money, like more than I've ever made ever. I was making $5,000 a month or more. And it was fine, but it didn't make any difference for me. I wasn't paying things off as I should. I was meeting the minimum requirements, but I was kind of eating my money literally, like doing DoorDash every day. I was depressed, and that was because I was spending 70 to 80 hours working. And like you said,
Mm,
that's not how I want to live my life. My relationship sucked because I wasn't home. I was, down and out on myself because I didn't have a social life. It's just we have to start out somewhere and have very realistic goals for ourselves. And I'm going on a tangent. And
no,
I'm so
no, and you
sorry.
covered so much territory, and it's like it's all about balance, right? It's like you mentioned self-care, which is so important because to me, time is the one thing that you can never get back, right? Like
Exactly.
we have a clock, like whatever it is, we don't know when it is, and that, you know, hopefully I'm not making people anxious about that, but we can always make more money. We can
Yeah.
always, you know, have more experiences, commit more time to work, but you can't get your time back. So if it's like, hey, you know, I'm wealthy, but I'm having to work 80 to 100 hours whatever a week, like that is, are you really living? And if you
No.
enjoy that, like good on you, but it's about balance. Because here's the other thing too, and I'm just gonna be real, I feel like my generation and down for sure, like we have this I'll use college as an example. When I was in college so long ago, um, it's gonna be 10 years out of college this year. Wow. Woo, woo. But essentially, like people were asked in the School of Business, how much money do you expect to make, you know, your first year out of college? And they were coming up with like $100,000, $80,000, 120. Like that's not realistic, unfortunately. Like if you happen to make that after college, wonderful. But
Mhm.
people don't realize like the average like household income is anywhere between like 30 to $80,000 a year, and that's like with a couple. Like
Yeah, with
you,
a
a
couple. Yeah.
couple. Like let's be real here. Like uh, I forget, like maybe like 5% of people make over $100,000, like of
Five?
in individuals in the US.
Oh, that's still
Individuals, like,
low.
yeah, it's very low. Don't quote me on that, y'all, but it is low. It might be 10%, but even then, like as the number goes higher, obviously the percentile goes lower. But your average person, like 80% area median income, that's the number you want to look at for your respective state, AMI, and you'll actually see like what most people are making in your state, and that number would probably really surprise you. And then you're like, well, all 80% of us need a raise. Maybe, but again, we have to like, how do you make do with the current situation, right? And if
Yeah.
if you're not happy with the amount of money that you're making, go explore other opportunities. I encourage you, or increase your skills, you know, take an extra accreditation, more education, or a trade. Like there are opportunities. You might not make them overnight, but it's an investment. It's a long-term investment. And yes, there will be times, there will be years that you will feel very broke, very like disprivileged, or like, hey, I wish I was making more. Yeah, we all do. But then you have to kind of like take a step back and say, why? Is it to have more Uber Eats nights? And maybe that's what you value, and that's okay. Like whatever it is that you value, stick to it. And maybe take notes. I really encourage people to journal, and I hate journaling, but there's something about it. It's taking notes. It's holding you accountable. And thank goodness, like you were probably a great support and a partner for your spouse. Like that, even it's in itself is a motivator. Just to know that you have someone that supports you, that is still standing by your side and saying, "Honey, you can do this." And another thing you mentioned is like how that score was going up. So it's actually easier to make your score jump up from when it's very low versus like having a high score and making it higher. Let me say that again. If you have a low score, you can make that score jump up with the little baby steps that you take, because your score is so low. But these little actions make huge effects,
Yeah.
positively, you know. And social media, I'll go back to that because that was another point that you said. Stop comparing yourself to other people. That
Mhm.
is the big thing that I will take away from my 20s, where you know, you're still trying to figure yourself out, trying to understand yourself, be a contributing person to society, and be a professional. And then you look at social media and you say like, wow, such and such is doing XYZ. They have a yacht, they have a house,
Right.
they have a great family. You do not know what's going on behind the scenes. And it's not to take away from people's successes. Again, like let that's their journey. What's your journey? If you can compare yourself to who you were a year ago or 5 years ago, and it's something that is satisfactory or better, then great. If it's worse, then it's just a learning experience. Identify where the trip ups were, where the hang ups were that, caused you to be in a worse condition. Like, interview yourself. Stop interviewing yourself and comparing yourself to what's going on social media, because that's just a highlight reel. No one wants to put on all the bad stuff that's going on. We're putting all the, hey, just got me a new car. Here's the keys to my house. Oh, look, here's
Exactly.
my spouse. Like, all these things, because that's what we feed off. Like, that's what we want to see. And so we've kind of like glamorized and sensationalized this idea. And I think that's the problem too, because what we desire nowadays as like the bare minimum, or I'm doing okay, is totally different than what it was 20 years, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years
Exactly.
ago. Let's be real. Like, our grandparents maybe had one car. Like, grandmommy, she probably didn't have a car. She had to ask her abuelo to like borrow the keys so she can go to the grocery store.
Take the bus.
Like, exactly, like, and that's seen as such a bad thing nowadays. I mean, even I had the issue with that growing up, like, "Oh, you don't have cable? What's going on?" Like, our idea of the basics are so different now. So, like, let's really people have to, again, understand the differences between needs, wants, and what would, I even take it a step further. What is a must, non-negotiable to survive in life? Food, water, shelter. What's a I really, need, or really want this in my life, and I really would prefer not to go without it, right? So maybe cell phone, or a Keurig or something, or a car, and then it goes to like, hey, these are my wants. It would be really nice to have these, and then it's just like, like, I can go without having this, but I know I have made it once I got XYZ, which could be a nicer car. It could be, a pond. Like, that was one thing that I really felt like I would make it in life, is when I had a pond. And I have a pond. Today I have a pond, and I
Yeah.
always wanted to have like a red door on my house. I painted that door red, and I was like, I made it. I made it
Okay.
here. So there's different things. So I would encourage people to, like, again, it's an audit. Let's stop this superficial. Let's stop these loaded things. Like, I want to be well off. What does that mean? What does that
Yeah.
really mean?
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. And I would like to bounce off of that even more because I remember somebody kind of asking me that, wow, do you hear those sirens? That is
I
terrible.
do, but that's a good soundboard of
Yeah,
it.
somebody's being helped right now. Yeah.
Yes, they're like their finances are janked.
Yeah, somebody come help. Actually, so somebody actually asked me that the other day because okay, one thing I started doing, which made my life so much more like glamorous in my own way. Like this is one of those I made it moments. Usually I would make my budget for the month, just write it down on a piece of paper. Well, now I have it on a Google spreadsheet, okay, for
Yes.
free. I have a
See?
I mean, yeah, and everything is automated. It's like fancy. It got like different colors on it and it's sparkly or whatever. And it's cool because now I'm like, ooh, every time I spend something, I put it in my little Google spreadsheet and it automates everything. And then I look in the next tab and it's like, you have this much money to spend. And I'm like, yay, it's like that makes me happy. And I didn't
Yes.
need to, like that alone, seeing like that little template helps me to regulate myself in the sense of I don't have to feel down on myself. So I'm going to go eat DoorDash food or I'm going to go to Sephora and get whatever it is, and I'll worry about it later. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Just something as simple of having that automation in my life makes me feel like, I'm important. I'm doing good for myself. I'm taking care of myself. You know what I mean? And a lot of people really need to, focus on that financial self-care, and treating their finances like they would wrinkles on their face, I
Yes.
guess, yeah, something like that.
Absolutely. I think it's crucial. If you don't deal with it, and you don't avoid it, or and you avoid it, let me tell you, that money problem is never going to go away. So we need to stop avoiding it, and you need to address it. You need to be assertive with it. You need to be aggressive with it, because again, if you don't rule it, it's going to rule you. And just like you said, you can start with the basics. It doesn't have to be anything high tech or crazy. You can get to that point, but you need to have a starting point, which is you, you need to know what you're working with. If you're making $1,000 a month and you're spending $2,000 a month, that's a problem. If you're going into your credit cards just for that reason, you're living off credit cards, that's a dangerous position, right? Because their
Yes.
goal is to make sure that you never pay off your debt. And I've been there, I've been guilty of it, or there are times when there's emergencies and whatnot. But the problem too is this immediate gratification. We have our phones on our fingertips. I can order my food, I can order off Amazon, I can do whatever I want with a simple click. If I want something, I'm I can be that way. I'm guilty of it. I'm gonna go right to the store and go get it, or I'm not waiting 2 weeks till I get paid again. Believe it or
Right.
not, y'all, we got most of us have to wait 2 weeks. Some of y'all getting paid daily or
Right.
weekly. Like, good on y'all. But again, I digress.
No, yeah. And, now that you speak about it, and I know we've been talking more about our own history, but I know you are a mentor, and
Mhm.
obviously you're a very good one. And I'd like to know if there's any stories that you can share about, about a time that somebody had a real breakthrough with their finances to where they were able to, overcome under your mentorship.
Yeah, it's really funny that I get to do this for one because it's like I'm passionate about it and I truly want to see a positive outcome for people. And so I can definitely, gosh, I could share multiple stories, but my favorites honestly is couples
Yeah.
because you'd be surprised how much the other does not know what the other's doing or what's going on or the fact that they're actually better off. So there was definitely one couple that I was working with, obviously not going to name, anybody, but
Yeah.
um, they made a decent amount of money together. And the wife was actually the breadwinner.
Okay.
Like, and what that means for everyone else is she was the one that was making bank, and the husband wasn't making bank. And they had all these ideas of like, they want to buy a property, they really want to make it, and they're renting a house, or they're living with other people, these different stages of their lives. And it was just, people say that I'm very kind and very friendly. Like they're scared at first, right? Because they don't know what to expect. They don't want to be judged. They don't want someone to tell them what to do with their money. I will not tell people what to do. That's what I'm not going to do. But I coach them and work with them to say like, okay, Nathan, spell it out for us. No, you spell it out. What's happening? We're writing this down. What's going on? And what they realize is like they're actually making a lot of money. They just don't know where all the leakage is coming from.
Okay.
So I hope that's not too generic enough, but essentially what happened after working with them for a couple of months is that they are financially stable. They
Mhm.
just aren't stabilizing. They're throwing money away and they're not using it to the best of their ability. There's more out than is coming in. And the in
Mhm.
is enough. They're thinking that they have to get different jobs, that they have to get second jobs, or how am I going to make it? Like, what is going on? No. Like, we actually have a lot of expenses that we didn't even realize we were still paying. And
Really?
yeah, I mean, people don't realize like I if it's okay with them, like there's obviously like permissions or whatever, like I want the person to be as open as possible. What am I gonna do with your checking account? I don't want that. I got my own checking account to check. But what they were realizing is like there was a lot of expenditures that, like there's those little commercials where like people buy the app. Why are you gonna buy an app to help you understand what you're spending? Like, come on, like go to your bank account
Yeah,
and
I
see
talk
what's
about.
going on. How do you not know what's I get a text message every time that car, and it's annoying. Thanks for reminding me, Wells Fargo, or Bank of America, or whatever you have, that I just spent my money. But a lot of people really don't know what's going on. And
Hmm.
people will have conflicting things. Like, I'm not going to tell you how to operate your relationships or your marriages or whatever, but it is a little bit more easy when you both are working out of the same account. And some people will have a separate accounts too. That's awesome. That's like that extra pots of money or whatever, or my like, hey, my fun money, cool. But a lot of people really don't know that they're spending $400 a month on cable, paying, all this money on 10 different subscriptions, or, the gym membership, or, like all these things. And honestly, this is where I go back with the excuses. You don't need that extra package on the cable that has XYZ, it's half the time it's reruns anyway. Like, let's be real. So you're just all you're doing is feeding all these large corporations. And then
Mm-hmm.
people, I can't tell you how many times couples think that they're slick. They blame the other person for why they have to keep these things. And I see it all the time. We're like, oh, well, they can't go without that. Oh, I didn't say that, honey. Like, I could. Oh, really? You didn't? Like, they really will be stressed out. It's that communication. Let me tell you, people
Yeah.
are not communicating to one another. So I end up being a relationship coach in the middle of it.
I
I'll be
mean,
like, you gotta go to therapy for that one. I can't help. But I have a lot of fun working with couples for sure. And singles are great too, or people that are aspiring to have relationships in the future. They don't want to be in a relationship until they, are financially sound. And that's a great goal. That's understandable. Some people get into relationships as well to, kind of make ends meet, and they're forcing themselves to be in a relationship they don't even want to be, but it's just easier to live with my partner because of the bills and the expenses of life. I do not encourage that
I
unless
wouldn't either.
like that is you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah,
So again, to put that story there, I'm trying to be as specific as possible without being generic, but essentially those are my favorite examples, and that one in particular is just like when you see their face light up and they're like, wow, we have all this extra money, but where is it going, Nathan? I'll tell you where it's going. It's right there. You just weren't looking at it. So that's always fun. And then people have those celebratory moments where they're like, hey, Nathan, they report back and they say, I was able to save this X amount, thousands of dollars, or I was able to pay off that credit card, and it's over and we're done with it, and now we're planning that vacation that we thought we couldn't go on this year. And I'm
yeah,
just like, wow, see.
yeah.
you know
That
so
is amazing. And like you said earlier, finances control everything in your life. The way you feel about yourself, the way you treat other people, like how it affects your relationships and stuff like that. And that is something that my husband and I had to, kind of deal with ourselves. Where we both have very different communicative styles either way, but
mhm.
especially when it comes to finances, we have two separate, books. I do mine in my little spreadsheets and I'm happy. I do my budgets, and he likes to be in his notebook, and he goes day by day with his finances. Cool. But as long as we're on the same page and we know where the money is going, eh, whatever, you know what I mean? And we've overcame a lot. Like
Mm,
I always speak about the fact, I made a lot of money last year. It didn't really do anything for me. And the negative thing that I really got from that was a lot of debt. You talked about people and credit cards, and how it's very easy if you're living off your credit card. I stopped budgeting for a while, a few months. Like, I was working so much, budgets were just not a priority for me when it usually is. Oh my God, I was spending $900 over budget every month,
mm,
every single month. And I didn't like, I understood because I would be pulling out the credit card and I'll be like, like,
mm.
that's not what you should be doing. But I would look at my bank account and it's like, okay, like, I don't
What
really,
was your turning point?
my turning point.
What got you to the point to say, like, okay, I can't keep doing this?
That is a great question. Thank you for asking that. The turning point was, um, gosh, my husband and I, my great grandmother had just passed away.
Mm,
And my husband, thank you. My husband and I, we were already like having problems. And it was because obviously I was spending a lot of time at work. And, he was like, hey, I'm over here. You're not paying attention to me. And I'm like, well, I'm looking at these bills, and like, I need to work more because my bills aren't doing anything, And he's like, well, it doesn't make sense because you're working, you're getting paid. So like, why are your bills like that? And I'm like, I don't know, leave me alone. And we go back to see my family, and we're at the funeral, and I'm just watching this man, interact with my family, and he's so happy, they're so happy, they love him. It's everything to me, and I'm like, oh my god, like I'm missing out on this, you know what I mean? Like the first of all, the trip to like suddenly fly to New York where I'm from, from Colorado to New York, it was already 800 bucks, which I didn't have. I was already spending $900 over budget. And I was like, oh my God, like I can't miss this, you know? And just having that moment with my family to where I'm like, I need this. I don't know how I'm gonna do it.
Mm,
I need this in my life, you know what I mean? And so I go home and I'm like I really have to go over my accounts from like 6 months ago. How am I gonna do this? I was there for hours reconciling my accounts, taking a look.
mhm.
I noticed I was spending like 300 a month on DoorDash. I don't know how. I was just eating my
Woo!
feelings
You were
away.
eating good. I hope
Probably
you were getting like lobster or something,
I
not no
was
McDonald's.
like Chipotle.
Okay, fine.
Like
We'll take that because we
Chipotle.
like it.
I
We'll
do. I
allow it
love
this time. No,
Chipotle. I know, not enough for $300 though.
right? You
Yeah,
were
I
feeding the neighbors too.
was, girl. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm
That's
sorry.
all right.
I call
No,
people.
my last supervisor said that she does it all the time. She's like, I talk to my daughters all the time, and I just be like, girl, I'm like, I'm I'm about it because I've been around a lot of females. I was raised by a female, so I know.
No,
It's all good.
I have a habit of calling my husband girl too when I'm just, I'd be like, girl, you don't understand. You don't
It's a
understand.
feeling.
It is. No, seriously, because I was there stressed out. I was like, what
Yes.
am I gonna do? Oh my gosh. So I quit my job. This is what I do. I said, F it. I come back to Colorado. I'm like, I'm not doing this no more, grandma. I can't do it. So I quit my job. I'm not working for 2 weeks. And my husband is like, okay, like I'll figure it out. And I'm like, thanks, because I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Right.
Luckily I have a boss that I follow around sometimes. She was like, I'll hire you. 2 weeks later, and I was like, oh, I gotta get my life together. So in a very Kyla fashion, I just get rid of my problems that I don't like. So I sold my car. That was my biggest expense. I sold my car. I don't have a car. So we're operating on one vehicle right now. Yeah, your
Mm,
girl got to take the bus, but I'm proud of myself because I was able to reduce just by getting rid of my car and not having to pay like $50 a week for gas. I'm like saving 500 bucks a month alone
I
by not
love
having
that.
a vehicle. And so I was actually able, just by selling my car and having that extra money, I was able to pay off $13,000 in debt alone that I racked up within a few months. I was able
Wow.
to get rid of a large portion of that. Now I only have two debts right now, which is like a low credit card bill, two
Yeah.
low credit card bills. So I went, yeah, from seven different depths to just two. And I'm very
Yeah.
proud of myself for that. Um, and I'm very sad that it took, a family member passing away for me to kind of open my eyes to life, the life that I have in this moment. But it was worth it, to have a healthy and happy marriage and a happy bank account.
Right.
That's like number one.
Yeah, what's the saying is like beauty in the ashes. Like it's not until you
Yeah.
experience like low points too, or calamity hits that it kind of shifts, creates a refocusing and allows you to like say, hey, this is a lesson learned or this is an opportunity for growth. And look, there's this thing called growing pains. Like when we're
Yeah.
growing and as a teenager or whatever, like you're experiencing like what is going on with my body, like there's a pain associated with that. So as a human, in life, we have these experiences and yeah, everyone always says it builds character, but it really does. And it's a lesson learned. And I applaud you for taking that step that probably wasn't easy to say, like, hey, I'm going to be the one to give up my car. I'm going to sell it. But sometimes we need to go without, like, especially in that season. Like, if you have to be so sick and tired of your situation to, you know, finally say, like, okay, enough is enough. Like, what can I do? And that you strategized. Your brain was able to say, like, hey, I can't keep doing this. There's leakage happening here, and I need to, cover that leak up so that I can replenish again. And that's exactly what you did. And that's a great method that I go, in practice and strategize with, clients and people that I encounter all the time that are saying, like, I don't know what to do. And sometimes, you know, people tend to be their own obstacle. When you think about obstacles, I think there's a book about, like, it's called like The Obstacle is the Way. A lot of times we're the obstacle. We'll put all these obstacles in front of us as the reason of why I can't. It's because of this. Like, we're putting all these barriers in front of us of why we can't be successful. Oh, it's the economy. Oh, it's the taxes. Oh, it's my ex-wife. Oh, it's because I got to pay child support. Oh, it's all these things. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, now that we know that those are different variables in play. But just like any, you think of like sports and football, like, they don't say, oh, it's because I'm from Baltimore. Oh, it's because the Ravens has good defense, or the Dolphins or the Eagles, they have good offense. It's like, okay, so now that you know that, what do you do about it?
Yes.
How do you defend? How do you play on the offense? How do you become assertive and aggressive and take it into your own hands so that you can win this what I'll call game? Because I think the credit is a game. Whatever it is, it's a system that we've decided. So when you have this, what do you do with it? And a lot of people just tend again to create these obstacles for themselves. Like, okay, like, but how do you problem solve? How do we're naturally problem solvers. People always say, like, men try to fix things, or and women are guilty of it too in relationships, saying that man's going to change. Oh, I'll fix him.
Yeah,
But
I'll fix it.
essentially, yeah, right. But essentially, it's like, well, all things considered, what do we do with this information? Because then
Yeah.
I'm the idiot if I don't make changes and I keep expecting a different result, right? Like, we know
Yes.
that. We know that. So why do we keep doing it? So I'm a little soapbox. Yeah.
And I love it. And your energy is amazing and it's perfect for this industry. Like,
Tis
people,
needed.
yeah, it is. It is because we all need it and we kind of need somebody to be like, no, shut up. Like I wish I was kind of that person that was like, girl, hello, like shut up, just look at your bank account like you are
Yeah.
eating and that's about like one of the only things you're doing, eating and working, and that's it. And if I had told myself that, I would have been like, you're right, I don't need this right now. I already had my treat for the week and now I'm having it four more times. And so we just kind of need that person to be honest with us. And I think you're the perfect person for the job, so thank you
Thank
for
thank you for saying that.
of
I
course, for all your
I
insight.
I
Thank you.
appreciate that. I just when I think about, like, I don't advertise myself or tell people that, like, I'm a financial advisor. Like, get those people too. I'm not an accountant. Like, those are professionals in their own way, but sometimes it's taking that layer back and meeting people where they're at, and being a support, being like I said, an empower, encouraging people, and helping with that financial literacy, understanding these variables and how we go about solving these issues. So I I thank you. That's what I'll say is I like to say I make friends with people that I work with, and it's true. I work their situation as I would work my own.
Mhm.
And one of the questions that I actually ask people very early when I'm trying to see if these people are a good fit for services is, what is your relationship with money? And on top of that, what were your parents' relationship with money? Because if you can answer that, a lot of that stuff was passed down, and it might be traumatic, and there might be other parts in play too. Like, there might be addictions, there might be,
Yeah.
things that might call for something that is above me, where it's like, therapy, because of how you, because of your relationship with money, because
Hmm.
of how you spend or don't spend or whatever. And it's not about just spending, because there's people that are super cheap with their money as well.
Right.
I'm gonna rat out on my grandmother, but I'm what you call frugal.
Hmm.
God bless her. She's cheap, like super cheap. I'm like, man, we are not in the 1930s anymore. We don't have to like pick up every penny, you know. I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. But there's certain
Yeah.
ways where she would, you know, it goes to a part where like if I was cheap and that when I go out to eat and I didn't get what I want, I used to be that way. Why? Because I know what it's like to be without. I used to live in basement steps under you know, stairs like Harry Potter with a curtain, and that was my bedroom. It was like, you know, a 2 by, you know, 8. That was my bedroom. Like it was small.
Two by
And
eight.
yeah,
Okay.
maybe it was 2 by 5, 2 by 6. It was enough for me to have my head up here on the bed, and the end was my feet touched my dresser, and it had a TV on top, and that was my bedroom. And I was thankful for that too.
Yeah.
It was, you know, during a very vital time in my life as a young adult. But it's like, you know, um, I don't want to not live. I'm not When I tell people, I'm not telling you to not live your life. I'm not telling you, because some people are like, I make my money, I could do what I want with it. We're not saying that. We're saying
Hmm.
so that you can continue uh that journey of what you value. We
Hmm.
want it to be a healthier one. And the things that you don't value, like we how do we exit some of that part of your life and not include some of those things that you are wasting dollars or not managing? Because if you can't manage money, you can, you know, don't call yourself a good leader, don't call yourself a good manager, don't call yourself a good, you know, I don't want to say anything, but you know, these things take leadership. You need to be you need to be a good leader, a good manager when it comes to finances. Otherwise, you're not leading it. It's leading you. It's controlling you. It's hurting you. You know. So are you
Exactly.
really taking care of it? You know, taking care of business. I make money. Okay, we all can make money, but can we manage it?
Inspired you. Be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Keep redefining wealth, rebuilding your future, and taking control of your financial journey. And always remember, you don't need a perfect balance to make a perfect comeback.